Okay, so hope you're all good. This Twitch stream is specifically for the people at the DDJ SB3 group on Facebook. I'm going to move this mic a bit so you can see what I'm doing. I see it. Yeah, so this Twitch stream is for the DDJ SB3 group on Facebook. If you don't know already, just facebook.com/groups/DDJ SB3, I think. If not, just search DDJ SB3, I'm sure you'll find us. Welcome along, I'm Mike Masters, aka Chop Beats. So I've got my kit hooked up, ready for streaming, and yeah, hold on. This is the first live stream I've done on Twitch ever, right? So you have to bear with me a bit because I've done a bit of preparation, but I haven't done like loads, so bear with me. As far as I know, the live stream tests that I did and stuff are okay. The audio's all right, and I've set up a couple of bits and bobs so that we can try and get it going and see how we get on. Okay, so the way this is set up tonight is I've got the DDJ SB3. I'll try and explain it, right? So I'm gonna switch cameras around, right? I'm doing this whole thing on my own, so sorry if it's a bit shit. Let me transition that. Okay, cool. Right, so you should be able to see the whole setup now. So basically, I've got the DDJ SB3 here, as you can see. And it's USB, it's connected to a laptop just up here, which is running Serato. That's a MacBook Pro, it's an old one, it's 2013, it's about 5 years old, but it's brilliant machine. Works perfect, no problems at all. And that's running not the latest beta that's just been announced at the what's it called? WWDC thing. Yeah, so not that one, whatever that's called, but this is High Sierra, I think, is on this one. Serato works fine. The only couple of problems that I do get from time to time is I've got a huge library of stuff. I've got a 2 terabyte audio library, and I've got another 4 terabyte drive, and I reckon I've got about 4 terabytes of tunes. Well, I know that sounds like a lot, but I do a lot of DJing, and I'm a member of certain DJ pools and stuff, and I get a lot of music. Probably get about 30 gig of music a month, and I've been doing for a good while, so it just builds up. I should really curate it properly and sort it out, but you know, it is what it is. Still, so I've got a Thunderbolt drive plugged in. That's one of the Lacy tough drives. You might be able to, I don't want to move it because I'll just disconnect it or some shit, alright? But the Lacy tough drives, the orange ones, they're wicked. I've had that drive for about 3 years. Works absolutely solid all the time. It's perfect. And then I've got a Maxter drive. It's kind of like a backup drive and that. I've got 5 backups of my MP3 stroke FLAC stroke WAV stroke AIF audio library. So I've got my main DJ drive, then that's backed up on that Maxter drive I just told you about. It's also backed up on a desktop drive, a 2 terabyte desktop drive. It's also backed up on my NAS drive, which is on my local network, and I use a service called Backblaze, which got recommended from DJ City. Shout out to Mojax for that one. If you don't know him, check out their DJ City channel on YouTube. It's really good. They've got loads of product reviews and stuff and tips and all that. Mojax is really good, really got his finger on the pulse. In fact, the whole reason I'm doing this, or the way I'm doing it, is because I started using OBS, which is broadcast software, which is open source. So if you want to start streaming, that's a good way to go about it. Yeah, so Open Broadcast System, I think it is. It's free software, And I kind of can't believe it's free because you can do loads of stuff with it. You know, you can have multiple camera angles, combine text and images and all sorts. It's pretty good. So anyway, the SB3, I'm using a little external mixer which is over here, which I don't know if you can see, but hopefully you can. And it's just a little Allen and Heath mixer which has got USB and effects and stuff built in. So my mic is plugged into that, the SB3 is plugged into that, and then the USB output goes to my streaming computer, which is just one of my kids' MacBook Airs. It's nothing special, it's a low spec MacBook Air, but it's fine for running this. I don't get any drop frames, seems fine, so it's all good. And then it goes through to, I've got my boombox at the back there. So you can see right over the back I've got a DeWalt boombox, and it's just plugged into that on the auxiliary cable. So yeah, so getting back to the reason why I'm doing this, I have sort of posted in the group to show that I'm live now. There's no one in the chat, but I didn't expect there to be anybody in the chat. In fact, I didn't even expect anybody to watch this even at all. So once this is done, I'm going to share this to YouTube, because I'm not going to play any copyright material. I'm going to play all hip-hop instrumental, which is produced by a friend of mine. So that's all the music I'm going to play. So they've got no reason to take it down for copyright or whatever. And then if you guys want to watch it later, it'll be on Twitch for, I think, 60 days. And it's going to be on YouTube indefinitely, I suppose, unless it gets pulled for whatever reason. So anyway, so I've got two cameras hooked up. I'm going to try my best to sort of show you around it. Anybody who's joined the group because they're looking to buy one of these controllers, I really am going to try and do my best so that you can kind of see what's what. So let's just let me move this. Try and get the best position. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, cool. So this is the DDJ SB3 mixer from Pioneer, and I'm not in any way affiliated to Pioneer. I don't get any free stuff from anybody with about anything. I literally, I just kind of like to do this sort of thing from time to time, and I just thought it might help people out because there was a lot of hate for this controller when this came out, because people were saying about the scratch, the pad scratch on it. Echo's getting on my nerves. Yeah, the pad scratch and stuff was like a quick way of scratching without having to learn to scratch and all that. Well, personally, I thought it was a good addition to get new people possibly into scratching and possibly into just DJing in general. I think it's a great idea. Jazzy Jeff is probably my all-time hero of DJing. I come from a hip-hop background, and there might be some people that might be watching this video that might recognize me and know me from a different name and various other places, but anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, and this is just a good bit of kit. I just really like using it. It's just simple. You can plug in, play, and just get on with it. It's not personally ideal for a lot of the stuff I do, and I've got a complete different setup over there. I've got a couple of 1210s, and I've got a Z2 Traktor Scratch mixer, and I use all that for doing cutting and scratching and deck to deck and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so basically anybody who's ever done any DJing at all will be in some way familiar with this layout. You've got two jog wheels, all right, and they're stationary, they don't rotate. You know, you have to look at the NS7 Mark 1, 2 or 3 if you want rotating platters, or I believe there are some older controllers as well that have rotating platters, or you have to use the Rain 12s that are out now. Nice bits of kit but crazy expensive. And also, what's the point in having something that you can only use as a controller? When, for me, I would prefer to buy the phase and still be able to play vinyl on there if I wanted to. That's the perfect solution. So you have a Serato or a Traktor control vinyl, and you put the phase over the top of it, and you can cut and scratch if you want to use your control vinyl, or you use the phase, or you can take it off and still play vinyl, whatever you want. It's, you know, whereas the Rain, lovely bit of kit, solid, but two of them and the mixer with it, you're looking at $5 grand. Well, you know, you can get like two of the Pioneer CDJ Nexus 2s, and I forget the model now. Is it the S9? You can get the S9 mixer for that, right? And that's like club standard, so I probably wouldn't bother going with that. Let me just change the music, hold on. Yeah, so a lot of the people in the group have been interested in how this works with other software. So I'm going to just do Serato tonight, and then later on, another time, I'm going to do a video with Algoriddim's DJ Pro 2, and I'm also going to do one with Traktor. And I haven't really messed with Traktor with this at all. I just kind of, I don't know, because the funny thing is, I started using Traktor in 2007. I've used it a long time and I know it really well, but I took the jump and bought the Serato DJ only about 2 weeks ago, the Pro one. I actually had Serato on an old MacBook, like, it wasn't even called a MacBook then, it was, what was it called, PowerBook, on a PowerBook Titanium G4, and I had a very early version of Serato on there, and it worked all right, but it's all out of date, and I got rid of it. So, you know, it's one of them. Anyway, so getting on to this. So just talk you through these sections here. So basically, what you see here is repeated on this side. So I'm just going to use this one deck, and imagine it's kind of on its own, separated. In fact, there's a line, just like a slight indentation in the controller just there that shows you the separation between, you know, the jog controllers and the mix section. Well, first off, it's only 2-channel. You've only got a single output, so a pair of RCA outputs on the back. Let me see if you can see that. My cables are too tight, so forget that, but it's literally just RCA and USB, and also there's a mic input with a gain control on the back, and that's a 1/4" mono jack input. Then on the front, all you got is your headphone output, which is a 3.5mm standard stereo plug, and that is it. Now, the disadvantage to that is you can't control booth output or like use XLR outputs to like a main pair of powered speakers or an amplifier, whatever you're going to do. So if you're going to do any kind of live scenario or club DJing or anything like that, I strongly recommend you either go for a higher end like the SX2, the SZ2, or any of the Mixar ones, but you want to look for really 3 outputs. You want record output, booth output, and your main output. And your main output, you want to be looking for XLRs as your primary output, which is the 3-pin XLR, like a mic input, and 1/4" jack or phonos. But the phonos you can use for like recording to a whatever recording medium you've got if you wanted to do that, and then obviously you've got your booth output as well. Now, the reason I use that little desk is because you use it as a sound card as well, so you got that flexibility, and I can output with 3 different output sections on here. So tonight I'm going, one output is going to the streaming machine, another is going out to the to my boombox, but I've also got a primary output, which if I was on a system now, I could plug into that and I'd use that as amplification. But there is a way around that. right? If you wanted a cheap, quick and easy way of using a different output, you can use an audio splitter in reverse. So you can just search this up on YouTube and you'll find it. You get a little 3-way passive splitter, which has got phono input and 3 pairs of phono outputs. And if you were going to do that, you could use that, and then you can output to 3 different sources, and sorry, not 3 sources, 3 receiving ends, and you can adjust the gain and whatever you want to output to whatever you want. So you could, if you wanted to, output with 1 pair but control 3 different levels, so you've got like a booth output and all that. I haven't used it personally, but there is a tutorial on YouTube if you wanted to do that. So there you go. So you've basically got your 4 sections. Your cue, play. So basically, the cue will take you to the start of the tune, and then play, pause. Now with Serato, this is super quick, really responsive. Everything is immediate. That's the effects roll. I have certainly had no problems with this whatsoever with Serato. I did notice with Algoriddim's DJ Pro there was a little bit sometimes of stuttering with the jog wheels, and I don't think the definition was quite as good. But it's not designed for it specifically, you know, but I thought it was still a good piece of kit to use with DJ Pro 2, and I'll do a separate video for that. So let's go on to the basics. So you got up and down volume faders, so up, down for this deck, and then the same for the deck on the left. Crossfader, off, on. Obviously on is this side, and if you've got something on this deck, it's in reverse, so that's on and that's off. Just simple stuff. You've got a full bandwidth filter, so if you ever listen. So you can sweep right down to, I'm not sure what the lowest frequency is there. I mean, obviously you still got some bass frequencies there, so it's not a complete kill, but it's not far off it. The highs go beyond my level of hearing, so as far as I'm concerned, the high pitch frequency is a complete kill. And that's the bottom control out of these controls on the right. Then you've got individual EQ. Take the bottoms right off. Or add it right to the top. Then you've got cut and boost with the mids. Cut and boost for the tops. And then you gain at the top. So all pretty standard stuff, all pretty straightforward. Been on DJ mixes for the last 20 years. Then you've got the Q section here. So in the headphones now with number 2 lit, you'll get the output from this deck. So if that's down, these headphones that are connected, can't really hear it. Well, you get what I'm saying. There you go. Alright, so I'm a bit stupid, but yeah, you get what I mean, right? That's the headphone level there, and that's the middle of the section of the mixer at the bottom there. That controls the headphone level. So Q to 2 means you're going to hear what's going on in this deck, regardless of the position of the fader. So that's all the way down. With that on, you're going to hear the output from this deck in your headphones. And I'm doing all this. DJs that know what they're doing can just not even bother with this video, because you could just waltz up to anywhere, look at this and just play on it, even if you've never played on one before, because it's all just box standard stuff. But this is more for the uninitiated. So anyway, where were we? So that's the headphone level. Then you've got the main output level. So you'll notice output is now 0. all goes right up, and that controls the complete overall output for the whole thing. By the way, when I'm talking about that, the microphone input on the back, that is a direct route straight out without any controls on here at all. So there's no mic control anywhere on this console. All you've got is the gain control at the back. So if you plug a mic in and you want to use it for what you're doing, then that's going to go straight to the main output of the device, and you don't have any control unless you use the gain on the back. So be aware of that, because if you're using that for a stream, or you're using that in a club, you could potentially get feedback from that, and you might plug it in and be all in a panic and think, shit, I don't quite know what's going on here, right? And that's the reason, because it doesn't matter what you do on the front, it will be constant depending on the volume you've got on the back. So just bear that in mind. Let me just touch the tune back on 1 sec. Alright, so anyway, yeah. So you've got to be conscious of that, otherwise you can come right unstuck with that. So anyway, getting back to this, we're on the left deck now, by the way, because obviously that's where I threw that track into. At the very top of here, you've got a browse section with load buttons, and that is exactly what you would imagine it is. If I browse with this button, hold on, I'm going to try and show you the screen. You can't really see, but I'm just using that controller button left and right, and you can see it's moving up and down through the selection. So then I can just press load, and that's gone straight into deck 2. Also within the controls, if you look in the settings, you'll see that there is something that you can set so that you can't load a track onto a plain deck, so you can't make a mistake. Like, I mean, you can imagine, can't you, right? You're playing in a club, you've got a club full of people, you're playing a track, and you accidentally load a track onto the deck that's playing, and it's going to completely overwrite what you're doing, stop it dead, and start the new track. Well, trust me, you don't want to do that. So if you're happy and you're comfortable with that, that you're not going to do that, then you can do that. Some people that use like maybe 4 decks, not so bothered about that, you know. But if you're just using 2, and that's the only sources you've got, then that's something that you need to think about. The other thing I was going to say as well is the Allen and Heath little desk I've got there. You ain't got to use them. I just use that because it's really good sound quality. That was about 250 quid, I think. I mean, I bought that second hand from a mate of mine. Got it for a great deal. So, but that particular unit is excellent because you've got just enough inputs and outputs for doing anything like a little setup like this. But you could get a little Behringer one if you want. Personally, don't like them. I think the sound quality is a bit shit on those. And I've had one before and it only lasted a week. Got rid of that. Sent that back. But just a little desk. Then, just as a backup, if you're a mobile DJ or a club DJ, or for whatever reason you're out somewhere and you're stuck, all of a sudden the deck stops playing, I don't know, your controller gets knocked over, anything, you've got an iPod or an MP3 player or a phone or whatever device you've got with audio output on it, you can plug it straight into there and have it as a backup. Even if you're I don't know, anybody watching this, you might be a wedding DJ, or you might be, I don't know, doing kids' parties or something like that, then, you know, quite often people are going to be sitting down eating, and they're not going to want you to be like a performance DJ. You're going to be doing something else. So, you know, under those circumstances, you want to just be able to put a mix on and leave it. So I would suggest, if you get this controller, which is great, it's a great price, about 230 something quid, something like that, 250. It's a great introductory controller, but I would strongly advise you do get an additional external mixer even a DJ mixer, little 3-channel DJ mixer. I've got one in the other room. It's a little Numark one. It was 70 quid, and it's fine. It gives me 3 channels, so you could go out of here into there with 1 channel. You can plug your iPod in, and you can stick an extra mic in. Sometimes it's good to have 2 mics, so you can have this unit with your mic plugged in the back. Then you can have this unit connected into your mixer, and then you've got a spare one. A lot of mixers got 2 mics on them. So if you're doing something and you've got people want to make announcements and stuff, you can have spare mics plugged in, and away you go. Personally, I just use a Shure SM58 rock solid microphone. You can drop it. You can chuck it around. I've had mine dropped in beer, and I've left it turned upside down overnight, and used it at another gig, and it was fine. You know, so I'm not saying it's waterproof by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm saying it's a pretty rock solid piece of kit. So getting back to this, so yeah, the cue section here. So you can cue both together, one or the other, and then you can cue the master. So if you put the master mix on your headphones, you might be in a situation where perhaps you're in a loud club environment. Maybe the booth monitor is not there. You want to be able to listen to the output mix. That will give you what people are hearing, like direct. And also, if you're in somewhere that's got like a big space and you're getting a lot of reverb, or you know, it sounds a bit muddy coming back at you because of the shape of the room, the acoustics, you can check the master. So if you're doing a nice smooth mix, I don't really use sync. In fact, the brutal honesty is I don't know how to use sync on this at all. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with using sync if that's what you want to do, but for me personally, I like to mix, and when I am mixing, it's part of the art of doing it, you know. And shut that door. Sorry. Yeah, it's part of the process of learning to DJ. So this is just a more modern version of what I learned 30 years ago. So at some stage I'll get my turntables out and I'll do a video with all that hooked up, and you can see, like, you know, other ways of doing it. So this has become a video about the basics of DJing, as well as an introduction to this particular controller. I hope it's useful to you guys. All right, so yeah, so we've covered the basic bits and bobs. Now there's an FX section at the top. All right, so if I just cue this track again, play it from the top, we'll just get into a beat.
If you do this, feeling a little bit of that feel.
Obviously, I'm just spinning through the track here.
It's important, and
I don't know if any of you scratch, but if you do, these are not very good at scratching. Just try and load a different track. Just load that, play that. Right, so just the initial stab of this. I mean, yeah, you can do a little cut on it. You can do a little scratch, but it's really not. I just cannot do the stuff I can do on turntables on these. The platters are too small for me. I like a big full 12-inch size platter, but you can use it. Anyway, so you've got an FX function at the top. Right, so this has got the level of how much effect you apply to whatever you're going to do, right? And you've got 3 basic effects. If I select one, you can hear there's a basic echo. Sorry, correct terminology, basic delay. And this controls the level. So that's maximum. halfway, and that's 0. And you just press the FX button again, turns it off. Second one. That's like a more hardcore, more distorted delay. Turn it off. And that's echo. So you can play around with those, and that will give you sort of those different effects. But you've got, for a basic controller, you've got 3 common effects there. You can use your kill. So for example, I went to see David Rodigan play the other week, and all he ever does is plays tunes straight and uses the filter. That's it. That's all he ever uses. So essentially, that's perfect if that's what you want to do. And then obviously you've got your cut and boost, low, mid and tops over there. Now on this section down here, you've got 4 buttons from left to right: hot cue, FX fade, pad scratch and sampler. And those have a direct effect on what you hear coming out of here. So let's turn that effect off. Now we'll go from left to right. So hot cue, right? So if you're not familiar with what cues are, you can basically create cue points on the fly. So if we start this again, right, so from the top, so if I want to make a cue point at any point, so for example there, so that means it's lit, so it's got 1 cue point, right? Every time I press it, that's going to jump straight back to that cue point. And then I'll just do the second one. So that's the cue points explained. And if you want to get rid of any of those cue points, all you do is you press shift, press whichever button it is you don't want to use. So 2 for example, or 1. So now you've deleted the cue points. Now with Serato, it works on a database file. So when you've finished using Serato and you've done your cues, right, so I've just done 4 cues there. Okay, if I stop playing this track and then loaded a different track and then went on and, for example, I was doing a set or whatever, when you save your library at the end, so when you exit Serato, always remember to do it properly. It's really important, right? And this is the same for golden rule for all DJ software. When you finish doing your set, exit the software properly. So don't just rip apart your whole set, unplug everything, turn your power off, shut your lid, and jump in the van and do one, right? You need to exit the software properly. So once your gig's finished, lights are on and everyone's pissing off home, you need to, first off, stop playing, turn down the master volume on your amplifier, so the very last thing that can receive signal is your amp before it goes to your speakers. So you want to turn that amp off completely and turn it off. So volume fully down, then off. Then turn this last bit of the soundstage off before that. So that in my case, in this environment, that would be my mixing desk. So turn the master fader down so there's no output, then turn it off. The reason you do it in this order is so that you don't risk damaging your speakers. I've seen people have really loud PA systems and then just pull cables out and you get massive pops, and that's how you ruin your kit. So that's the right way to do it. And then once you've taken the level down to 0, then turn that off. Then lastly, your controller. Well, before you unplug anything from the computer, you need to stop playing and make sure that you exit the software, and it will save your database file for your tunes. So you might have done a wicked set up, I don't know, hot cue points on 30, 40 tracks, and you've had a great time, you've enjoyed it, and you want to be able to replicate that. Well, in order for it to do that properly, it's going to have to save all of those cue points. So then the next time you load that track, your cue points will already automatically be there. You'll already straight away be able to see them. Now, if I load that same track to the other deck, what you'll see is the 4 cue points will fall into place on the other deck as well, because it's like duplicated. All right. So anyway, so that's the cue points explained. Done the effects at the top briefly. I'm going to explain this section here. So if we go to FX fade, it's self-explanatory. Turn it up and listen. So that does a low pass filter, or a how can I explain? What am I talking about? It's a sweep, right? It's a filter sweep rising through the frequencies until you don't hear anything at all. So if I play it on this other track.
Everybody out there ready?
Oh, sorry. Bit of twat. So I'm on this deck, so FX fade. So obviously, and then you take the effect off by pressing that again, and that returns it to normal. And then the top one is the shorter one, and the bottom one does the same thing, but it's longer. All right, and then you got the next one does the opposite, so it's a filter sweep down. Right, and then the bottom button again is the same effect but longer. Okay, and then the third effect. So that's a good way of stopping a track. Take it off again. Now it will do that in time. So it will analyze the BPM, and oh, let me see if you can see that on the screen. Sorry about this shitness. You can see it's auto looped, right? If I take the effect off, so when you do that effect, the auto loop comes on, and it dies. The bottom one see what that does? So the bottom one just performs an auto loop of 2 bars. So it performs an auto loop of 2 bars, and then it halves it and still goes for 2 bars of half the length, and it just repeats it. And then the last effect is just a rewind. You could do it on there. And again, the top one is a short backspin, the bottom one is a longer backspin. So that's your effects section explained. Then the other thing you got here is auto loop. So by putting that on, it just captures a section and loops it in time. And you can double it. So that's now at like maximum loop. By the way, also on that auto loop function, something I noticed is with Serato DJ Lite version, you can't do that as thorough as you can with the Pro version. I think that was the case. So if you're trying to use auto loop, it's restricted. I think it's only got 2 or 3 things it can do. So it starts off like a 2-bar loop, goes to 1 bar, and then we'll half that. And that is the extent of the ability within Serato Lite. Whereas this one will give you much tighter. It'll go right down to like 1/16 or 1/32, I think, of the bar. So if you want that full functionality, you need the full version of Serato, which I bought for 45 quid like 2 weeks ago, which is a good deal really, because it's 100 quid normally. 100 sovs, governor. Alright, now the jog wheel itself, at the moment, this button here, this says vinyl on it, right? If I press that, the jog wheel, if I go like that, speeds it up, or I'll go like that, slows it down, right? Whereas if I press it into vinyl mode instead of slip mode, it's like you've got a traditional record on with a needle on it, and you're just physically moving it. So that's that. So that's your cue, your play, pause, all of that explained. Sync button, if memory serves me right, what that does is if you've got a track playing and you hold on. For example, right, so if you've got a track playing like I have here, now, that has been analysed at 96 BPM, right? This track here has been analysed by Serato at 96 BPM. The other track I loaded up has been analysed at, bizarrely, 96 BPM. That's a bad example then, hold on. It's 97, hold on. Try and get a faster one. Alright, so I've loaded the track now, and it's 99 BPM. Okay, and the one in that right is 96, so that's the one that's playing, so that's like the master. So if I press the sync button on the left, that's now at 96 BPM. So if I wanted to mix that in, then that's going to be in sync without me trying. Okay, see where that's all I do is I just scratched it in. Alright, now while I'm on the subject of this, another function on the jog wheel is when you've got the jog wheel set to vinyl mode, you can still adjust the tempo around the edge. So just around the edge like that, that's going to raise and lower the BPMs temporarily until you take your hand off. So it's like on a traditional record deck, you've got the vinyl on and you just touch it to just slow it down a bit. So if you're doing a mix, then you've got one playing and you're trying to mix the other one in. Traditionally, you could take that off vinyl mode and nudge it in. Or if it's in vinyl mode, you can use the edge, so you can slide it round and just nudge your mix into place. I'll take that sync off. Oh, take sync off, you press shift, and that goes back off, and that's now back at its regular BPM. Now, if you take the shift off, the sync off when it's playing, it will jump. So that was on 96 BPM, and it's now jumped to 99 BPM. So if you were playing that out and you did that, it would sort of suck because it won't sound right. I don't muck about with sync personally, but I've explained it so as you know what it does. And really, that is about it for this controller. It's no deeper than that. Now, sorry, there is something else you can do. You can control 4 decks with this if you wanted to. I forgot that, right? That's the last two buttons on the deck. You've got a button just here that says deck 4 and a button there that says deck 3. If I press that deck 4 button, what's happening on the screen is you can see on the right hand side there's nothing loaded. If I press it again, it goes back to a loaded track. Alright, now the value of that is, if you wanted to, you can have up to 4 tracks playing at the same time, but only using one controller. And that's a neat function. And that function is only in Serato DJ Pro, that is not in the Lite version. So that's a useful feature, but I've never used it because I just wouldn't do that personally. It's just, you know, I don't know, if you ever wanted to do that, then that's fine, I guess. Oh, sorry, one other thing. Well, 2 things, I suppose. Pad scratch and sampler. Pad scratch, if we turn this up. So you can hear it captures wherever you press it, and it just does just a little basic baby scratch. So that's a chip, 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 boom, right, which is just another basic scratch. I personally will never use that, ever. But it's just demonstrating for those that want to use it. It's got 4 basic scratches, but if you do use it when you're out in your sets, it's going to be so obvious to anybody listening that that's what you're doing. You're going to come off like a bit of a wanker. So, right, for kids who've never done any scratching before and they want to learn it, it's ideal because you could put that on one deck, learn the scratch, and then do it on the other deck. And then change it so you can learn to scratch with both hands. You know, different to what I used to do when I was learning, but is what it is. So that's a brief overview of that. And then the last part, sampler. So we'll go on to that. Now I loaded up some samples earlier, and if you play them, it will just play over the top of what you're playing. So if I turn it down, little sample from Aliens.
Swallow this.
And that was from Evil Dead. And then what, as the sample's playing, little air horn, you'll see this flashes, and that goes to show, and that will go off as soon as the sample's finished. So that's there are some more functions to that. If you look in the software, you can synchronize all that. So if you put the synchronize button on, when you play it, it will come on at a position that you want it to, as it comes on the beat or off the beat on a snare or whatever you want. You set it up for that. I've never messed around with that. This is perfect if you're like a DJ for radio, which I do. Then you can just set these up however you want them. Set them up whatever way you want, you know, and that's pretty good.
Swallow this.
Hold on a moment, please. So, yeah. Sorry. Bear with me, this is live. Has she? Sorry, so now I've been invaded. The dogs come in, family are all in, but I'm nearly done anyway. So let me just load up another track. Sorry about this. All right, so I think that'll do. That's a good overview of everything this does. Yeah, all right. I'm broadcasting live. My missus just burst in saying how much she needs to use the toilet. So I think here endeth the lesson. I think it's alternate custard. So look, that's it for tonight. If you've checked this out, thank you very much. Hold on a sec. All right, that's it. So I need a producer to do this really because I can't. I have to fiddle around with everything too much. But anyway, if this has been any use to you whatsoever, I hope it's done you some favours. Little overview. So that's kind of Serato. Haven't really looked at the software too much this time, but it's more about the controller. And yeah, I hope that you spread the word on the group. Like I said to you before, I'm not sponsored by Pioneer, not sponsored by Serato or anybody else I've mentioned, Alan and Heath, DeWalt, none of them. It's purely for my own interest. And hopefully the group, the SB3 group, will grow and it will get to a point where anybody who's got any questions can just ask and anybody in the group can help out. So, yeah, so that's about it. So take it easy. Peace.